First, Exchange Server activities available under Exchange Server Administration folder. And the first one we will look at is Exchange Server Scope, that is used to connect to the Exchange Server and provide the scope for other activities, such as create or delete mailbox. Active Directory Domain Services activities are under Identity Services, and in common, we have the more general activities like Get Object by Filter. We then have the more specific activities for computers, group, and users management. To exemplify how we use this activity, I will present a UiPath process for employees onboarding and offboarding, common scenarios in various types of organizations. Let's start with employee onboarding. When a new person is hired in a company, Human Resources provides the input for a UiPath automation process that creates a corresponding new user account in Active Directory and an Exchange mailbox associated with this user account in the Exchange server. The input for my process will be an Excel file, which in my case contains 3 new users and all the details about them: first name, last name, phone, organization unit office, department, job title, manager, and the groups this user should be a member of. Let's first run the process to see the result. I'll switch to another machine to see the result of running this process. So first, I need to refresh my view, and now we see that Anthony Young, Corey, and Johnny have associated user accounts in Active Directory. Let's open Corey, and we see that all the details in the Excel file are here: first name, last name, phone, organization unit office, department, job title, manager, and the groups this user should be a member of. In this case, senior developers and tech leaders. Also, if we go to the Exchange server, we will see that we now have mailboxes created for these new users. Let's see some details on how these processes were created in UiPath Studio. First, I wanted to find 4 assets in Orchestrator to store the connection and addresses of Active Directory, Exchange servers, and admin credentials for both of these. For example, for Exchange server, this is the address and the user with admin credentials that will be later used in this workflow. In order to onboard users, I need to obtain first the values of these assets, and then for each new employee in the Excel file, to read the detailed information and store it in the data table object. I have a structure where each row represents a new employee. I won't go into all the details about reading this from Excel, but we'll continue with Create User. This activity is used to create a new user account in Active Directory, and for each one, you need to provide the common name, location, organizational unit, a password, and the list of properties as a data table argument. This contains all the details about this user that need to be filled into the user account and a unique account name. Once the user is created, we can exemplify the usage of Update Object Properties, which is a general activity from the common group shown here. This activity receives as input the distinguished name of the users we have just created. I specify the name of the single property I want to update, which is user principal name, and the value that I want to write there. I then specify I want to force a password change for this user so that he needs to update the first time he logs in. For each group in the Excel file that we have, we need to add the user of this group. First, we need to obtain the unique name of each group and call Add User to Group by providing a user distinguished name and group distinguished name to add the user to the group. Finally, we use an Exchange Server Scope activity to connect to the Exchange server and to call Create Mailbox, providing as input the user principal name. That is the employee onboarding process. Let's move on to employee offboarding. When an employee leaves the company, let's consider Corey in this example, the associated Active Directory user account needs to be removed from the groups it belongs to. The associated Exchange mailbox needs to be deleted, and the user account needs to be disabled. To implement this workflow, we call again Get Assets activities and Get Credential activities in order to obtain the information and connect to the Exchange server. In the Active Directory scope, I need to obtain the object distinguished name for the user account specified as an input argument. For this user, I need to obtain all the groups that it belongs to and remove the user account from them by calling the Remove User from Group activity and providing the user distinguish name and the group distinguish name. After this is complete, because the deleted mailbox requires user principal name as input, we need to obtain the value of this property by calling the getObjectProperties activity. We provide there the user distinguish name, the property we're looking for, and the variable in which we will store the result of calling this activity. In Exchange Server Scope, we use this user principal name when calling the delete mailbox activity that will help us delete the Exchange mailbox associated with this user. We use the set user status activity in order to disable the user account in Active Directory. That is the complete offboarding procedure for an employee. To recap what we did in this session, we first went through a short introduction about these new packages. Then we went through 2 process examples for onboarding and offboarding an employee, where we demonstrated how activities from both packages can be used to automate these very common scenarios. We hope that you use this IT automation package to automate as much of your IT tasks and free up time for more meaningful and creative work. Thank you for watching.